Well, hey there, gang. Jim Jacobus here. Hope this finds you well. We are recycling one of our favorite old videos today, one that we think you'll enjoy. This particular one comes from way back at the start of our YouTube channel and talks about the fundamentals of marriage. It's been a crazy week around here, so we're excited to share this with you. Hope you're having a great day. We'll catch you next week on Your Marriage Matters. Take care, gang.
Today, we wanted to talk about just some basic fundamentals that it takes to build a more vibrant, healthy marriage. And these are the kinds of things that we teach all the time. Today, we're just going to kind of do a little bit of an overview of these. But at the end of the day, we will come back and tackle every one of these in detail, probably multiple times.
Right. And like you said, we're going back to the basics. And some of the things that are fundamental are still crucial in a marriage.
Yeah.
It's crucial in any relationship.
Well, as a matter of fact, I found a quote for that.
Okay.
Surprising, huh? And surprising, it is a sports quote.
From sports, yes.
Michael Jordan said, getting the fundamentals down and the level of everything else you do will rise.
Mm-hmm.
Get the fundamentals down and the level of, let me try that one more time. Okay.
Okay.
Get the fundamentals down and the level of everything else you do will rise. And maybe our experience is these fundamentals we're going to share today, when we begin to master them and get better at them and better at them, everything in our life gets better.
Right. If you do things on a foundational level, if you set your foundation strong, then it's Dr. Gottman talks about it in his Sound Relational House, where you put a good foundation down and you learn and you develop skills and principles around it, then the things tend to flourish.
Yep.
If you're not on a good foundation, if you don't have those done well, then you've got a little bit of a shaky ground.
Yeah. And so here are the fundamentals we're going to talk about today. And maybe as we were putting this together, we were talking about a while ago, it reminds me of kind of something we learned a long, long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we would go to teach classes or go to teach a Bible study, maybe at a home group or something like that. And we would be arguing like cats and dogs right up to the point where we'd knock on the door. We'd knock on the door. They come to the door. We go, hello, how are y'all? And we both felt so conflicted and so inauthentic about it all. Gang, we finally did what we hope you guys can do and what we're going to be teaching a lot of. We sat down, we talked about it. What is going on here? We don't want to keep doing this. And what we found out was Chrissy loves teaching skill sets, and she's really, really good at it. And I love teaching principles and kind of foundational stuff. It's not like we both don't teach either one, but we had these preferences. And, what we found out was without principles, skill sets don't matter. And without skill sets, principles don't get put into practice.
Right.
So as we look at these three foundational, let's call creating a shared vision as being a foundational principle, something we want to do. And we're going to talk about that. And then, babe, the other two are what?
They're more of a skill set that, being a good communicator, we can all appreciate why we need to get good at it, but it's the how. And the how of, how you get, well, we've heard for years how effective communication can help improve your relationship, how learning to solve conflict and problems together can increase your satisfaction in marriage. They're not the only things, but there are some things that we can use as a starting point, as a foundation. Sure. And so we'll talk about some key skill sets around there. There's a lot to discuss when it comes to communication. And as you said, we're just going over kind of some fundamentals, some things to get started with, some skills that you can start using today that hopefully will improve your satisfaction within your relationship.
Absolutely. And again, the same thing with solving problems.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't care how good your relationship is. There are going to be problems, guys.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be things that come up, little bitty things, big things. And again, it's one of those things we get some skill set at. We can learn how to do it better. Matter of fact, I hope we keep getting better at it.
Right.
Because we're not through with problems in our lives. I'm sure of that.
Right. And sometimes the problems aren't between us. They're not an internal conflict.
Right.
They're an external conflict that we have to work together and see how we're going to solve those.
Absolutely.
I think the harder ones to solve are when the problem is between the couple or between us. So I think, that's an important thing to learn, is that conflict is inevitable. Conflict will occur. And how are we going to get better at it? Through communication and some other things as well.
I guess you and I have kind of forgotten what it's like to solve problems between each other because it's been so long since we He says tongue in cheek.
In true transparency, we all still struggle.
Absolutely.
And marriage is and sometimes a roller coaster,
Yeah.
and we have to learn how to navigate and stay the course. And so these are some skills that hopefully
Well, let's talk about them a little more depth.
Okay.
Sound good? All
Sounds
right.
great.
So the first one is called creating a shared vision. And babe, this has kind of been something that's new for us. Not that we haven't done it in the past, but gang, as we've begun to live this lifestyle, living full-time in an RV, traveling around the country, spending time with family, all of the things that's brought to us, our life has gotten better and better and better. And babe, I've been fond lately of saying, I don't think I've ever felt so at peace, so content, so happy as I feel here lately. And so we like to ask ourselves, when things like that are going on, why is that going on? Why is it different? And it's not just that we've been going some amazing places, which we have, that we spend time with family, which we have. There's more to it than that.
Right. And
lately we've just kind of lit on this idea that part of this is because when we lived in our home in Sugar Land, I mean, we had a great marriage. It's not like it was any, problem, but you had your work and your career. You had things that you did in the community. I had my career traveling around the country and speaking, consulting and everything like that, playing racquetball. We would come together and be married, not that we weren't married, we weren't together, but we come together and do the married thing. And then we go out to do our stuff. Well, here we are together, gang, all day long, most every day, 430 square feet. And it has driven us closer together and caused us to use all these skill sets we're talking about. But we have this shared purpose now, the shared lifestyle now that we didn't have before, even though we had a great life. It's different. Do you feel that too?
Yes. And I think one of the reasons is we have to collaborate. We have got to be a team to get things done. And it's so important when you have that shared vision. It's like a team. Yeah. It's like teams that go out and play sports or anything where they can be a work team where you need to accomplish certain goals. If one person goes off and does their own thing, it might not necessarily hurt the team,
right?
But it certainly does improve effectiveness when you can work together, when you do have a shared vision. Companies a lot of times have mission, vision, value statements that'll help direct their path. And the same can be true of a marriage where you're on the same page.
Right.
I hear people a lot of times saying we're like two parallel cars going down the road.
No kidding.
And sometimes you need to make an effort and become intentional about getting your paths aligned.
That's a great way of putting it.
And getting in the same car, because oftentimes it's very easy in the description you just said about living and doing our own thing and needing to meet our own personal objectives, that we lose sight of the fact that we are busy, but our relationships, our family and our friends are our priorities.
Yeah.
So I think with that, sometimes creating a shared vision can be as simple as just saying, we're going to get on the same page. We're going to be, going through this life, doing this journey together in a combined way.
Yeah.
And collaboration too.
Well, yeah. And what I think is this lifestyle has become the shared vision. Right, living, traveling full time in an RV, figuring out where we're going to go, how we're going to get there, all of that's become a shared deal. And what's really, I feel like, when we have a problem, it's not my problem; it's our problem. It's Team Jacobus's problem.
Right.
And if that means something's wrong with the rig or with the truck or whatever, it just seems like we've both taken on everything as it's a Team Jacobus problem, not a Jim or Christie problem.
Right. And one of the things we said with this year going forward, it wasn't just going to be about just checking off the boxes and having a good marriage. What can you do to have
exactly
stellar relationship, one that will want to be emulated? And it can be difficult.
Right.
It can be difficult because we have different priorities, different skill sets and everything, but coming together and saying, okay, here's what we're going to do that's in the best interest of each other is crucial to that.
Yeah. And so we're talking about how do you level up this year? And we're going to talk a lot more about this. And gang, we're going to be real straightforward with you. We're still kind of exploring what this is and why it works and how it works. And so We'll be going through this year. And by the way, in just a few minutes, we're going to share with you a tool that we created, a bucket list exercise. We talked about back during the 12 days of Christmas, but we're going to share it with you today. If you're listening to the podcast, watching the YouTube channel, you can go download that, and it'll give you a really good start on beginning to do the kinds of things it takes to create a shared vision. We'll share that with you in just a minute. So if we're going to have a shared vision, then we've got to do what?
We've got to get better at the skills that help to build the shared vision.
Absolutely.
And one of them that we probably could talk about for days is
Right.
effective communication.
Yep.
There's so many elements of that. I have talked to people before, and I think now with social media and also with instant messaging and ways to get to talk to people all the time,
Right.
there's not a lot of times a deficit in communication. It's just how
Effective communication.
exactly
Maybe.
effective. Exactly. So I think in order to do this, there's a couple of skills that we would pass along to people, but sometimes it's just making communication connective. So we're using our communication not just to go through a checklist of stuff,
Right.
but more importantly, it's something that we're doing to stay connected to each other. We've oftentimes said one of the simplest things you can do is just commit to 30 minutes a day of effective communication. And a lot of times in our busy lifestyles, I know that is difficult. I know that can be very hard, but it keeps us hopefully staying connected to the other person.
Yeah, we heard Katie and Trevor tell us that last night. You'll hear that in their interview about how they're intentional about doing that. And, you say, yeah, it's hard because we're so busy. But what's more important than that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, something else needs to take a back seat to you and I sitting down and communicating on a regular basis. And gang, we're gonna get into more depth and share with you lots of very practical skill sets and everything. But babe, I like your idea of not talking about the 3 P's or now the 5 P's.
Yeah, when we're talking, a lot of times it can feel like probably to you, I'm doing a therapy session because I'm sharing with you is the problems that I'm encouraging, not obviously with clients, the problems, the priorities, like my to-do list. Here's what I'm doing today. And it is important that we check in and say, here's what I've got going on.
Yep.
Here's what you've got.
And we do that all
on,
the time, by the way.
and everything. And then for those of you who still have children at home, this is very crucial. That it's not just all about parenting and everything, because that can be the majority of the conversations. That we laugh because we used to say 30 minutes a day. That doesn't involve those 3 P's: problems, priorities, or parenting.
Now,
in 2020, we came up with 2 other P's: the pandemic and politics. So those probably aren't as relevant today as it used to be. But being able to spend some time just having communication and like I said, sometimes at the end of the day, I know that can be difficult, but it is so much to help you connect with the other person, to stay on the same page, and becoming that safe person who can speak and talk about what they want, feel, and need, and also listen to the other person.
Yeah, and part of it's just sitting down and saying, how was your day? How are you doing? How are you feeling? How's everything going? How's your mom?
Mm-hmm.
Just checking in on stuff like that. Gang, as a matter of fact, I hadn't thought about this. I didn't mean to make this into a infomercial, if you will, but we are going to have our first book land on Valentine's Day. We're going to launch it then. Your Marriage Matters, 52 conversations every couple, 52 conversations to build a more vibrant, healthy marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And we wrote them, but I'm going to tell you what, there are some great conversation starters in there.
Right.
As a matter of fact, we have a sample chapter out right now. It's all about sex.
Yes. And a very
I like the way you said,
a very important conversation to have, no doubt. But.
Yeah, absolutely. See, she got quiet really fast, but we do have chapters on that and money and parenting and all those kinds of things. So look for that coming out Valentine's Day. We'll be talking more about that, and probably in the next couple of weeks, share with you the downloadable of that chapter you can check out if you want to. But I mean, you say this a lot, babe, and I really appreciate what you do. Communication is important here.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes all of life better. It makes work better, family better, just in the community better. I mean, wherever we go, people like great communicators, and that's both speaking and learning to listen well. And so we'll be talking about that a lot more in the future. And then it's also this skill set here.
I have learning to solve problems.
Yeah.
Life is full with conflicts and things that need to be navigated, negotiated. And so learning to solve problems and handle conflict is a crucial skill as well.
Yeah.
And so sometimes when couples have this going on, they don't have the skill sets to navigate it. And it can be multi problematic. And so one of the things I'll say is, okay, what are you doing to solve the problem?
Right.
What is this conflict doing within your relationship? Like I said earlier, sometimes the conflicts are external,
Right.
and we need to team up and attack the problem or solve the problem. You have a more direct way of solving problems.
That's a nice way of putting
it. I have a more
indirect
way of dealing with it. And I usually take my time to solve problems or conflict, and you tend to do things kind of quickly.
Yeah.
So,
and by the way, gang, there are pluses and minuses in both of those. There are times when it needs to be dealt with. There's times when we need to take our time. And I think, babe, we've gotten pretty good at understanding when we need to do either one or both of those. I've learned a lot from Christy. I think I'm much more patient now than I certainly was when we met. And I've created a lot fewer train wrecks over the last couple of years. And you've gotten a little more step up to it every now and then and speak your mind. So we've learned a lot from each other. But this is another area that when we tackle it in another podcast, we will give you some very real world specific skill sets that you can use. We hear from people all the time. Rate the Debate has become one of the best things they ever learned. We enjoy doing that. It's a great tool. We're going to give you tons of those that are going to help you as time goes on. So,
right. And one of the things that is a simple thing that you could do today is to sometimes look at the situation and say, okay, what's going on with the conflicts that we have? You know, what are we trying to do to solve them? Kind of like you would brainstorm at work. You know, here's our problem. How are we going to attack it? Because in a lot of careers and professions, your job is all about solving the problem for somebody else. In sales, it is. In other areas, that can be, you know, job number one. So use some of those skills that you've learned in other areas to solve the problems you have in relationships.
And so I'm going to steal your line here. Okay. I'm going to steal your line from you because I think it bears saying. Christy says a lot of times in our workshop, a large percentage of the problems we have are never going to be solved. They're just a difference in our personality style, the way we were raised, and don't need to be solved. Now, that's coming from my lip to your ears. I know you don't. I actually hate the fact that there's these, but some of them are not going to be solved. And the way we deal with that is going, look, you know, we're different in how we handle this. Doesn't change how I feel about you. Doesn't change my respect for you, my appreciation for you. I just know that you do it differently, and sometimes that's better, and sometimes mine's better. But at the end of the day, Team Jacobus wins. And so learning how to accept the fact that some of these things are not going to get solved, it's just a difference in who we are. And you know what? I think one of the things we need to learn is I love you no matter what.
Right.
And I hope you love me no matter what, even in spite of some of my little things that are kind of nuts sometimes. But learning how to solve problems is huge. So bottom line is shared vision. I'm going to give you a downloadable here in just a second. Great communication skills and great problem solving skills. Not, hey, we just need to be better. No, let's level up this year. Let's say I want to be outstanding at this. And just in the journey of that, you'll watch your marriage get better. Your spouse will respect you. You'll respect each other. And you're kind of like, hey, now we're Team Jacobus going after this, or your team name. And man, there's something fun about when I know we're shoulder to shoulder going at life, as opposed to, you know, pulling at each other and going opposite directions. So I love these things that we're going to be teaching. And you're going to see a lot more of that as we move on down the road.